You know what's funny about becoming a dad? You slowly turn into your dad and you don't even realize it's happening. It's not like one day you wake up and you're your dad. It's more like little things start happening. You say one sentence, then another sentence, then one day you hear yourself talk and go, oh, I get it now. I remember when I was a kid, my dad used to say things that made absolutely no sense to me. Like we'd walk into a house and every light would go on, and my dad go, why are all these lights on? We're not lighting the whole neighborhood. And I was a kid and I was like, relax, man. It's just lights. Now I walk into my house, all the lights are on, no one's in the room, and I feel personally attacked. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. Electricity is not free, and these kids don't get it. And I don't know when that flip switched in my brain, but at some point in life, lights became important. And then thermostats became important, and that's a different level. When I was a kid, the thermostat was a random thing on the wall that we weren't allowed to touch, and now I understand why. Because every time someone touches it, the entire economy in the house changes. And now I have to walk past it like 6 or 7 times a day just to make sure no one has changed it. I've become the thermostat security guard. And the crazy thing is, I used to think my dad was dramatic and crazy about stuff like that. Now I realize he wasn't dramatic, he was just responsible. That's the thing that kids don't understand. When you're a kid, you don't understand why your parents say half the things they say. And then you grow up and have kids, and suddenly everything they said makes sense. It's like the classic line, we have food at home. Every kid hates that sentence. Every dad eventually says that sentence. It's unavoidable. It's part of becoming a parent. And there's a list of these sentences that we will all probably say at one point as dads. Close the door. We're not cooling off the neighborhood. Turn the lights off. Don't touch the thermostat. Money doesn't grow on trees because I said no. Don't make me pull this car over. And when we were kids, we heard those things and we thought our parents were just trying to ruin our lives. Now we realize that they were just trying to run a house. They were trying to manage their money. They were trying to keep things from breaking, and they were trying to raise kids who weren't completely crazy. And the older I get, the more I realize something about parents that I never understood when I was younger, that our parents were just figuring it out, just like us. When you're a kid, you think your parents know everything. You think they have life figured out. You think they know exactly what they're doing. And when you become a parent, you realize nobody knows what they're doing at first. You're just trying to do your best. You're just trying to raise good kids, and you're just trying to make the right decisions and not mess up. And some days that alone feels like an accomplishment. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned about being a dad. You don't have to be perfect. You're just trying to be consistent. You're trying to show up every day. You're trying to raise good humans. And I think a lot of dads are harder on themselves than they should be because we compare ourselves to the idea of a perfect dad that doesn't exist. You know, perfect patience, perfect decisions, perfect discipline, perfect balance, all that stuff. That guy, that dad doesn't exist. But you know what kids actually need? I've talked about it on the show a lot. They need a dad who tries. They need a dad who apologizes when he messes up. They need a dad who laughs and plays with them. And they need a dad who teaches them right from wrong. And most importantly, they need a dad who's there. And most dads I know are doing that. They just don't get a lot of credit for it. Being a dad is one of those jobs where if you're doing it right, no one really says anything most of the time. You're just expected to keep going and just keep working and fixing things and driving everywhere and solving the problems. And a lot of dads, they just sit quietly and carry the responsibility and don't talk much about it because that's just what we do. But I think it's important to say sometimes, guys, that if you're a dad and you're trying, like really trying to be the best dad that you can be for your kids, you're probably doing way better than you think you are. If your kids know that you love them, if you show up, if you're teaching them right from wrong, if you're being a good example and providing and protecting for them, you're doing the important work. Even if it just feels like normal life, even if it feels like nobody notices, even if it feels like you're just driving little crazy people from point A to point B, fixing stuff and repeating the same day over and over again. That stuff all matters way more than you think it does. One day your kids are going to grow up and they're going to look back and remember what it was like to grow up in your house. They're going to remember the road trips. They're going to remember laughing and playing with you. They're going to remember you teaching them things. They're going to remember how you handled yourself and how you treated others. They're going to remember you. And that is why being a dad matters so much. Even the small stuff, like, especially the small stuff, because most of fatherhood is in the small moments that don't feel important at the time, but later they become big moments. And everyone that's listening needs to remember this. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. One day, without realizing it, your kids are going to start saying the same things you said, and they'll realize that they became their dad too. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next episode.